allegiance. Everyone will please rise. There's our flag. I pledge allegiance
to the flag
of the United States of
America,
and
and to the republic
for which
which
it
it
stands,
stands,
one
one
nation,
nation,
under
under
God,
God,
indivisible,
indivisible,
with
with
liberty
liberty
and
and justice for all.
Okay. So, first I'm looking, everybody get a copy of the minutes from February 16th and had a chance to go over them?
Yes.
Okay, so I'm looking for a motion to accept.
So moved.
Okay, Neil, a second?
I'll second.
Nancy, okay, any discussion? Okay, all those in favor by saying aye?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, next is Randy Highway.
Howdy. I don't know where to start on my list, Debbie.
Make it short. Go from the bottom up.
Go from the bottom up.
Before you start, Randy,
We'll,
I'm just wondering if 518-866-6006 could identify themselves?
It's me, Bonnie Reisinger.
Oh, okay. You're on two places. Okay.
I couldn't get volume through my computer for whatever reason, so sorry.
Okay. Thank you.
Hi, Bonnie.
Hello.
Okay, Randy, you're up.
So we'll start with snowmobile stuff. We received the grant voucher from the state. It was identical to last year's as far as the money goes, the mileage goes, everything. So that was sent in. We signed the contracts with both clubs. And in your bills are the January, February vouchers for those clubs for grooming the trails and such so far this year. So that, was better than expected. After all, we got everything that, they promised or didn't promise. They couldn't make up their mind, so gladly they gave us everything that we
100% good. Good.
So we did well there. The grooming itself has been going well until this weekend's rain and sleet and so on. But we went back out today and smoothed everything out again. We groomed Saturday, we groomed Sunday, in the evenings. So now it should freeze up and it's going to be rock hard. And I don't foresee any in the forecast a lot of snow. So we're going to have, moderate trail conditions, I would say, to be the best. I'm hearing that other places are getting down to, mud and snort. So we're doing better than those, I guess.
Did you say dirt or snort?
Snort.
No.
Snort. Snort. That's snow dirt. Snort.
As opposed to a misspelling in your minutes.
Hello. I have a feeling spell check's not going to grab that one.
No, probably not. Can't believe you don't know what snort is.
It's like snaying in our house. That's snow and rain mixed together.
Oh, okay.
Same difference.
Hello.
The trucks we're going into trucks now. The trucks are running good. No issues there. We have the state put in coal patch over the lovely bridge joint down at leaving Speculator. So we still are not plowing it. We are only salting it until they repair the metals. We don't want to catch that again. New employees started on the 22nd, last Monday, a week ago. Doing very well at this point. Full of energy and so on. Willing to learn. He's already been grooming. He's already been running wing this weekend. So we're throwing him right into the midst of things. The last meeting we kind of put off looking into the reserve funds till Debbie got back, and I've been busy with everything going on. I haven't gotten with Debbie to sit down and go through the minutes.
Actually, I did by myself.
Oh, you did? Okay.
Yeah, and honestly, there are no resolutions making any reserve fund for anything. Not for the tennis court, not for the six-wheeler,
None of them,
Garb,
except possibly the truck reserve fund. I don't know, because that was done before I came on the board.
yeah, the truck reserve, there is a fund for that, but not for the, tennis,
Yeah,
like you
Well,
said.
we never held public hearings on and adopted them. I kind of thought that was, optional. You know, as long as the money was going into the fund and not being spent on anything else.
it is optional if we use them up in 5 years.
Right.
Okay.
In a period of 5 years. So.
Which we would, except for the tennis court, right?
Right. Betsy and I went over that. All but the tennis court, because we're putting such a small amount into the tennis court. To get there, it's going to take a lot longer than 5 years.
Is my recollection, they all require a resolution, but
Yes.
only long-term, which is defined as more than 5 years, required the permissive referendum.
Correct. That's how it's worded. There's that lovely little clause that if less than 5 years, then we don't, need a public referendum. So the tennis court is the one that's the issue.
But Debbie, you're saying we never even did resolutions?
No.
Okay.
So the
know-
budget,
I know, Christine, I know you talked about it. I know you mentioned it. I remember hearing it, but, when Dan was supervisor, there was no resolutions, and I went back
You
into
just
all my.
added it to the budget during budget meetings and didn't think of
I
any
didn't
further.
take note, I didn't take minutes during budget meetings.
That's probably how they got created.
Yeah,
correct.
We'll get it fixed.
Yeah, and that's
We'll work
really
it out.
small stuff. The money's there, as you said, Chris. The money's there, and they've audited well. So, but we do have to clean that other one up if we're going to continue going for a long period.
correct.
it's a possible, my concern is we should always have these reserve funds. So is it possible, I'll be off the board by the time these 5 years are up, but I would think that then we could do new reserve funds for the next 5 years.
Right.
And just keep it going,
Sure.
Yeah, keep it going for less than 5 years, and we're all set.
Yeah.
Randy, we're gonna be using those funds up because we're already, 2 years since Dan's left office, and I don't remember when those were set up. In what year are we able to, we have enough to use it?
19 and 20 were the 2 years that they were the two
Problems.
right, the two problems ones. So the garbage truck, I don't have my list in front of me, but when Betsy and I looked at it, by the time those all hit the 5 years, we should have enough in there. Because if you remember, in this budget season, I upped the garbage fund one a substantial amount because it's fading fast. So that one's going to mature fast enough. These six-wheeler / UTV one is going to be used up in the 5 year period. And then the loader, I believe we'll have like 120 or 30,000 in that 5 year period. So that's, right there on, depending on what cost of loaders do between now and then.
On the edge.
Yeah, it's right on the edge. And then there's, that's the three of them, and then the tennis courts.
Well, Randy, would you recommend that we go ahead and pass resolutions for all these and do the progressive referendums on the ones that it would be required for?
Yeah, I definitely think we should have a resolution now. If we want to wait till next meeting to get them all written up, that's
sure.
fine.
Yeah,
So
we're
it's
not
all-
ready.
Right. And then to make easier on Debbie,
Oh, Randy.
but the tennis court one, I have no idea because of where we're going, if we're going anywhere with that, project, we should at some point in time set a goal and then adjust the reserve. And that's not really just a reserve. That's going to have to be called a repair reserve.
Or capital project or something.
Yeah, capital project repair reserve. That being said, because we're not creating a new tennis court, and the legal terms are for new, so they have a farther down in the book a reserve fund that is for repairing something that you already own, and that reserve has to be set up totally different. Still has this permanent referendum if it's over 5 years.
You want to wait till like next year to do that?
No, that'd be your going away present.
Betsy, just to jump in here, I know that you touched base respecting the tennis courts and the county. Should we make this all one circle?
No, because that tennis court is totally different. The tennis court that we set the reserve up for is
Right.
the Elm Lake tennis courts.
Okay, so we just leave the county thing
Separate.
alone for a while.
Oh, I thought it was the county tennis court.
No,
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 Elm Lake Road.
this is for Elm Lake Road because we've already closed one half of that.
Okay.
Because we walked over it, reviewed it, and the macadam is very in poor, unsafe condition.
in much worse shape than up at county.
Oh,
Way
way
worse.
worse.
Wait,
So, I mean, I don't know. I don't know what we want to do with it. I mean, we definitely, in my opinion, want to keep things, that the town already owns and people use, but we got to repair it somehow. So,
Can I suggest that you and Debbie and I sit down? I know this week has been hectic for all of us, but this coming week, if we sat down and we went through Randy and figured this out before we start trying to make decisions and not really making a good decision to bring to the board?
sure.
What do you think,
on
Debbie?
top of that, maybe review the round number, the goal that Randy's saying,
Mhm.
the round number, and how long we can actually wait. Some of this stuff is, as Randy said, one of them's down altogether,
Yeah.
so.
So then we'll have good information.
Yeah, tomorrow I'm not available, tomorrow I'm in meetings, but,
And I won't be around Friday.
How about Wednesday?
Wednesday's fine.
Wednesday's fine.
Okay, we'll do it Wednesday. Okay. Okay, you got the floor, Randy.
All right. So, we're having issues with the town snowmobile, the rescue vehicle. Don, you know what one that is. The Yamaha. Right now we are not able to fix the charging circuit in it. It has bewildered our new mechanic and myself. It's not simple as a battery or a voltage regulator or a wiring problem. We've tested stators and so on and so forth. Basically, that being said, we have to carry a battery pack in our pocket in order to ride it. A jump start pack. I believe it started last season and hasn't gotten any better. Now it's getting worse. I'm open for suggestions, but I believe that if we were even remotely thinking about getting rid of that, this season is the best season because every used snowmobile in the country is being bought because there's so many people snowmobiling. And while we're still in the snowmobile season, rather than selling it off in September or August, now it's more the season for that.
What year is that, Randy?
It is, I believe, a 2000 and boy, I don't have that list in front of me either. So I'm gonna guess 2006.
Oh, it's old.
Oh yes. Oh no, it was a discontinued rental sled from Village Rentals
Oh, okay. See, I remember when we
that
bought.
we purchased, I do believe, for $4,000 back then.
So what do you use it for, Randy? Not grooming, which I think is where
No,
Chris
it's-
was going.
Yeah, it's not a groomer. It is to go when the groomer breaks down to go repair the groomer or fetch the groomer operator, depending on what it needs. And then also we do the GPSing of the snowmobile trails. It has to be done every couple of years. And the other day I tried to send Dan Yoder out to, when we had all that high wind and a little bit of ice and stuff, to cut trees out of the trails, and which he found several and many. Take the small limbing saw and right around the snowmobile trail so nobody gets hurt, which was proved to be not really successful. Every time he shut it off, it was a half-hour ordeal to get it started back up and get it moving again, because it has a computer on it, and without voltage, the computer goes, gets stupid, and like anything else. I don't know if what we want to do, but that is really not a viable piece of machinery anymore for us. But
Any idea what it's worth?
well, that being said, we had some volunteers at the shop Google the want ads and so on and so forth, and they are going anywhere from 2,500 to 4,500 at this point in time.
Wow.
Unload it.
And so that's more than what we paid
That's
for
higher
it
than I
back in the
thought.
day. So,
Unload it.
Yeah, if you can get it.
right.
But
If you
if
can
it
get
doesn't
it.
start, huh?
If it's not running, it's
Well, it runs. It just, and the claim will be in the Auctions International thing starts with Jump Start,
yeah.
and
Has
it's,
Rick been asked about it?
yes, Rick and his mechanic have been asked about it.
And they're chiming
That's where
too.
that's where we bought some of the parts
Uh-huh.
from, and either aftermarket or whatever, and they are also scratching their head. And besides for tearing the motor down and seeing if there's something physically wrong in there, that the stator, there's a lot of components to make things run.
Yeah.
The odd part is it runs once it's running. So,
Is there a coil in that?
yep, there is, and that coil, voltage regulator. The coil obviously runs because once you start it, it runs.
Oh, it always remains running. It's just
Yeah.
ignition.
Correct. And then when it shuts off, it's dead, and the computer goes dead, and then it's an ordeal to get it running again. So
Shut it off.
it won't idle that long either because it overheats. Because it's a snowmobile that is expected to, be moving. So if you just pull up and stop and get off to cut a tree up, by the time you come back, the computer says, "Oh, I'm too hot," and then shuts off. So it's a lose-lose situation.
Right. It's the end of the season, so why don't we sell it?
I'm for that.
Yeah, I
Can we-
think that that's the way to go.
Randy, how much money do we have in the side-by-side or whatever it's gonna be, six-wheeler? How much do we have in reserves for that at this point?
12,000.
12,000. So if you could get, say, 2,000, 2,500, what would it cost us to replace with the side-by-side? Could you get away with just one piece of equipment instead of two?
Yes, I could very easily, if I could get a regular side-by-side without having the 6 wheels, just a regular side-by-side, because then I could put tracks on it for the wintertime. Then I could also use it as a makeshift groomer with some of the old drags that we have out back. Don, you would know the black ones that were out back,
Yeah.
if we needed to. That being said, then we could also sell the 6-wheeler for a little bit of more revenue to go into that. So, all in all, we might be able to squeak right by, with, depending on what we get for sale. If you get 2,000 for that and 4,000 for the 6-wheeler, that puts us at 18,000. That's the cost of the UTV with a 6-wheeler, or without the tracks, I should say.
I was just gonna say, what do the tracks cost?
It,
About.
Or 5,000, I think.
yeah, Matt Seitz just bought, and he told me his was 6,000. His tracks. So there, it's 24,000. 18,000 and 6 more is 24. If that's, but without tracks right now, you're looking at 18,000. We have 12 in the fund, and then whatever we sell.
Would you need tracks before next winter?
No, definitely not.
So that would give you some wiggle room that way?
Correct, and then you could also see, and I truly hate to say this out loud, is see what's left in our parks fund right now. There's over 9,000 for the groomers left in our parks fund. If that still remains till next fall, then there you go.
That stuff is speculative going forward.
Correct. There's a lot of speculation, a lot of ifs and ands and buts here.
And time to shop and put that together.
Right.
But for now, if you can put that on and get $2,000 for it, I think you're better off just get the ball rolling.
Okay. Can I get a resolution to put that in? I think it's surplus equipment, and then I can auction it.
Second?
Second.
Second by
Second,
Chris?
Nancy.
We can't hear Nancy, but she's waving her hand.
Okay.
So
Okay.
Chris second that?
Chris second that. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay.
All right. Not quite done yet, Deb. Library roof. Everybody that's driven by that even remotely glazed in that direction saw the icicles hanging off of it. Front side, back side, doesn't matter which side pretty much you looked at, you saw the 3-foot icicles hanging. A couple years back, we had the spray foamers, not I, but to spray foam all the heat ducts in the attic space because that's where they thought the heat was getting into the attic, creating that problem. So Betsy brought it to my attention, asked me if I had noticed it, and of course I did. And so I got Bob Bankovich involved. He got out the plans for the building, and then Andy Perkins and myself crawled up into the attic and got into the cold area today and found some surprising things. One being that the plans call for even, the gable end vents, and there are none. So that right there restricts the amount of airflow in the cold area. The number two, we can't confirm it until we can get up on the roof and actually see it, but what we could see from the inside of that area looks like there is also no ridge vent. So that means that there is absolutely nothing but the eave side, the bottom side of the ventilation in the attic space. Both of those things are on the construction plans, and now I'm bringing this up to you because we really need to do something before our building gets any worse. That ice is not doing the shingles any good there. But I don't know if you want to take this up because it was a contract situation when we built the place into executive session, or if you want to go, what you want to do with it. I'm leaving this up to the board where you want to go with this.
Randy,
Yep.
what do you think the costs would be to do those two things?
Well, the vinyl siding, to cut into that and put the vents in, I would say we're probably going to be a couple $1,000s by the time we're all said and done with the, one for the ridge and the 3 of them on the end walls.
I mean, the gable ones are one thing, but a ridge vent, that's you gotta do some
Yeah,
cutting
it's not a small building. You're not talking
No.
a 40-foot
No.
ridge vent here.
and
Yeah.
you usually go the length.
Correct. All but 2 feet on the end and go
Yeah.
from one end to the other. And
I'm for contacting the contractor and letting the library board know it as well. That
I can report that at tomorrow's meeting.
that it's just these are oversights on original building. This is not callbacks for a leaky roof or an unforeseens. This is an oversight on some pretty basic plans.
And if we don't start addressing this, we're gonna end up having water damage inside. It's gonna keep
Well, you're
backing up.
trapping heat, right? You're
But you go
trapping
right
heat in an
down the
area that's
wall.
supposed to be cold. I'm sorry.
Well,
do you
someone
say?
was speaking.
Well,
Quick-
and are you sure, Neil, that that wasn't touched during the renovation?
I'm not
Wait,
sure.
wait.
I'm going by what Randy's saying.
Yeah, so Andy and I both, I mean, like I said, the ridge vent itself, unless it's very, I mean, we're looking from the ground at it up, you know, to the top of that, and it looked like they're just cap shingles, which are just a shingle that's laid over the top of the ridge. It did not look like it was, you know, the 3-inch tall venting plastic ridge vent. And there's definitely no end vault vents.
No gable vents on it.
No gable vents on it, and there's supposed to be 2 on the east side and 1 on the west side, according to the plans. So that would dramatically change the amount of air that's flowing in there.
You're capturing way too much warm air that shouldn't be
Right.
in a cold spot.
And summertime, you're holding in all the heat. Now we're
Sure.
trying to air condition things that are being superheated.
It definitely has to be fixed, but what I'm wondering is, was it the contractor that did the renovations?
Yes, it's definitely in the contractor end. I mean, that whole roof rafter system is all brand new.
They
I
put it
thought-
up.
They put it in. It was on the plans. So, and I asked Bob if there was any change order, or any shape or form, and he said no. And he did the final inspection of the inside. So, you know, this is a whole time frame thing, and we overlooked it.
Excuse me, Randy,
Yes.
who's the contractor? Mike Fisher?
Did we have a clerk of the works?
I'm sorry.
Or did we have a clerk of the works or somebody keeping track of it or anybody signing off on it or
That I
Usually-
don't know.
usually when you have a big construction
Last I
like
knew,
that, you do have somebody sign off on it that everything is done according to plan.
right. So when we had the quote unquote propane tank on the septic line issue, we went back to Mr. Reese, the engineer of the plans, and we pursued that situation with him. Because he was the engineer of the job, he was overseeing all that.
Right.
So I would assume he was overseeing the whole project. I don't
think
know.
you're right. I'm with Neil. I think we ought to contact Vischer and find out, you know, he may be very willing to go right up there and fix it. Who knows?
Right, or maybe we're missing something, but that's the place to start.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay, so you want me to call him and go see him, write a letter to him?
Whatever you prefer.
All right, I'll call him tomorrow.
It'll probably be easier, Randy, yes, if you did speak with him, then you guys, if you have questions or he has questions, you can complete everything and be on the same page when you're done.
Absolutely.
Can I
Right.
just say something? I would think it very strange that a local contractor who doesn't drive by there, who did that work, doesn't see that.
See the ice, you mean?
Correct.
Yeah.
Sort of hard to miss.
Yeah.
And
you
the-
can miss
and
it
the
now, and most of it melted off this weekend, but yeah,
That's been, I mean, Richie Frist moved away quite a while ago, and Frank Mazzano also, and they've both been trying to solve that while they were still here. So that was
An
you know,
ongoing
it's been
thing.
an ongoing problem.
I'm very
correct.
surprised that
Yeah,
somebody
nobody
put a
knows.
building without attic vents.
Yeah.
Well, it's that Andy and I were very, you know, I saw it in the plans, and I said, well, I know there's no gable end vents in there. And they're like, you sure? And I'm like, I'll bet money on it. And then when we got down there, we couldn't find any vents.
No.
So
Isn't where the furnaces are upstairs in there, correct?
correct, which
And
is
that room that the furnaces are in is
spray foamed.
spray foam into the rafters.
I lost you, Don.
The spray foam is foamed, the rafters are foamed.
Correct, all the way around.
So there's
The
no
rafters, the
ventilation
walls.
between the insulation and the roof itself.
Correct. That's the cold area. So from the spray
What's the
foam,
cold area?
it's the room and attic trusses. So that room upstairs is sheetrocked, and then where the studs are, and the ceiling of that room is all spray foamed.
Okay, I couldn't remember if that had a ceiling in it or not.
Yes, it does. So that has a ceiling, and it has a 2x8 ceiling rafter, and that's in between those are spray foam. So you have 8 inches of spray foam there.
Probably not your problem.
No, and then they had the ductwork out there in that cold area, and they spray foam 2 inches or 3 inches around those. So
Right.
everything's been in there that has heat in it is secured into the inside. But we all know that eventually you're going to get heat in that area, and that's why you vent the roof.
Right, but if the insulation is right in the rafters, there's no way you can vent that.
No, it's in the
If it's in the ceiling, then it's good.
ceiling of the room.
Right.
The rafters themselves are open.
All right.
So you walk on the rafter, the ceiling joists, when you're upstairs in the attic area,
Uh-huh.
and you're walking on top of the spray foam that's in the ceiling joists.
Is it
So-
possible if I go down there, I can take a look at it?
If you bring a square drive screw gun, yep. If you go up to the attic area where the furnaces are,
Yeah.
turn right, go right around the staircase. There's 2 doors, one on either side, and you just need to take out the screws. Or I can
Okay.
meet you there.
All right.
And we'll go from there.
Okay.
And I'll talk to Mike Vischer about it, and
See if we're missing something.
yeah. That's it, Deb.
That's it,
Thank you,
huh?
Randy.
Okay, I'm gonna go on now to old business. The letters, to the RO system owners, we mailed them out certified, return receipt requested on February 3rd. Only 2 have been signed for, and both on February 9th, which was Matt and Judy Dunn, which is Turner's most recent home that was sold, and also Robert Stubbs. We have not heard from Craig and Diane Samuelson or Barry and Bonnie Blennis, so we're still waiting for them to sign for their letters. Perhaps it goes to one address and then has to be forwarded, so it may take a bit longer. Just wanted to let you know that that has been done, and we're waiting to hear from everyone. Next thing was the BST audit. We should be starting that sometime, we're figuring in late March, I believe, right, Nance? Should be.
I don't know why you can't hear me.
Oh, I can't. Now I can.
Now,
Okay, I have to lean forward. Yeah, I think it was after, no, it might be even later because this is their busy time of year because of taxes.
Yeah.
It might be in
You might be
April.
right. It might be more like April. Okay, I did
Sounds
get
more reasonable.
I did get a survey from them, and one of the questions at the very end was there anything that we were dissatisfied with? So I did mention not that we were dissatisfied, but it took an extremely long time, and that Paul had assured us that that was only due to COVID, that won't happen this time. That's what he said. So I just wanted to make a mention that we were aware of how long it took and that we really didn't want the 2021 to take as long. So that's where we are with that. Auctions International, I really don't have a report from him, from RJ, but Laura Bonnier, our attorney, I sent her all the paperwork about a week and a half, 2 weeks ago, and she is going to work directly with RJ and get back to me. She did contact me Friday and apologize that she had been sick, but she's definitely going to work on it this week and we'll be in touch because we want to get this moving. So that's all I have on the right of way and that information. The next thing I had was the amendment of the resolution for the Lake Pleasant Volunteer Fire Department's LoSAP. At the last meeting, I had the wrong date in there at the very end, which you all got a copy of. The actual date, the Firematic functions for 2020 through December 31st of 22. So I am looking for a motion to accept that, to accept the amendment.
I move.
Okay.
I'll
is there-
second.
Okay, thank you, Don. Any discussion? Okay, hearing none, all in favor?
Hi.
Any opposed? Thank you for making that so easy. That was my blunder. Okay, the next thing is under new business. Don, at the last meeting, you had brought up the tennis courts at the county building, as to why we are responsible. So, I called Bill Farber, and I talked to Bill, to get the history on how the tennis courts came to be. Bill said way back in the 30s, before he was in, early on, it was more of a handshake situation. The town was interested in recreation for our community, so the county had access property. The county leased the property to the town as a service. The tennis courts belong to the town and are on county property. The county allowed the town to put the courts there. The county just leases the space for the town to have them. So, if the town doesn't want the tennis courts, the county will help us take down the fences, help us get rid of the blacktop, the asphalt, and they'll plant grass because the county is not in the tennis business at all. So that was my whole conversation. So the ball is now in the town board's court as to, for a discussion and decide what you want to do.
We're very certain that Farber wasn't up there in the 30s.
I say, yeah, he was.
I guess it's before my.
That's when you had hair, Neil.
Oh, bushy, thick. Yeah, it's a tough one. Knowing what we know about repair after you let them get, a little beat up, i.e. the ones on East Road. We put some money over the last 10 or 15 years in up there for various things, and we do cover it in insurance. It's always, mentioned in a codicil in our insurance umbrella. But boy, I think we'd be hard pressed to take it out, and yet everybody that I've known using those courts says, "Oh yeah, we love those county courts." You're not getting any attaboys, town of Lake Pleasant wise, for both its upkeep, its maintenance, etc.
And I don't think we do it for the attaboy. I just know.
No, I'm not. I'm
being
just saying.
Involved, yeah, but being
but they do get used.
going to the county as many days a week as I have in the past
Yeah.
year, I have to tell you, it's more pickleball than tennis, but they're being
Right.
used constantly. So you hate to take something away that is really an asset for the folks in our community. That's just my opinion. The board has got to decide.
From my experience with the tennis courts up there, doing maintenance and talking to people and having people complain to me when they were closed for doing maintenance, a lot of the people that use them are from surrounding towns.
No question.
It's not only the people from the town of Lake Pleasant that use them.
Hardly.
There's people from Psico, quite a few from Psico that use
Mostly.
them.
Yep, mostly.
And it's our taxpayers that are responsible for them. So I don't know if, I don't know what the legal aspects are. I'm not a lawyer. Of the tennis courts on county property. If it was a
Insurance.
handshake, if it's a handshake agreement, how much are we, I guess the word is liable for the upkeep of them? Is there anything written that the town is going to be responsible for the upkeep of them into
Oh.
affinity?
Well,
Yeah.
If
No,
there are
there's not.
courts.
We discussed this quite a bit, before we put those tennis courts into the 2020 budget? 2020 budget. And, the town is, we can let them go if we want to, but we are responsible for any maintenance that's done. We'll be paying for it. We'll be deciding to do it and we'll be paying for it.
No question.
But we thought that at that time, the budget committee was not willing to put more than $5,000 a year toward that. So, if the county had been putting in $5,000 a year toward tennis court maintenance for the last 20 years, we wouldn't even be having this discussion because
No.
there'd be money there.
Right.
So, I thought $5,000 a year toward the tennis courts was reasonable because even though people from Psico use it, they shop in Speculator. I mean, there's no place to spend money in Pasico except for, you know, Oxbow Lake Inn and the motels. So that was the reasoning behind that $5,000 a year.
If mostly pickleball people use this,
That's on Lake Road, right?
No,
all of them,
Originally, yes, Chris, but now they're playing it up there.
All of them.
do they have a pickleball association? And if there is a pickleball association, like where they do tournaments or whatever, would it be beyond us to ask them to maybe kick in a little bit to help with the maintenance of these courts?
That's pretty sketchy when you're dealing with a municipal.
Yeah.
You know.
No, I understand that, but
You ask
know,
if it's a city or a village or a town park, and you start hitting up the Little League for money to use the fields, it's a spider nest. Doesn't matter if they're old or young.
we lose.
But we could put a lockbox up there with a sign on it that asks for donations.
Yep.
That might be worth a try.
Going
Because even-
forward in
Not-
Parks and Rec, I would just suggest that since we spent a little time talking about the courts in the village that are ours, and now the ones out in county property that are ours, that at some point when we have the money built, we should have a sign on both of them. Town of Lake Pleasant tennis courts. And a donation box is not a bad idea, obviously, but charging almost always, now you require having permits. The village tried these things, little things having to do with the pavilion, use permits and whether there should be pay and so on. You're adding a lot of extra work to this lady over here. Debbie's moved. She was here on my.
Yeah, I think we lost Don.
Yeah, we lost that.
We lost her.
The other thing, when pickleball became pickleball here all of a sudden, I believe that those pickleball items were purchased through Consolidated Health. And the nets.
the nets, because I ordered new ones last year because they had been worn out and they asked us to. So Consolidated Health paid for them.
That being
But
said, would that be our responsibility if people want to play pickleball for that to be purchased by us?
Well,
I mean, it's through
Yeah.
Consolidated Health, but it's the same tax base, you know.
I'm back.
Hi, Don.
we missed you.
Can I add a little
Yes.
into this? Going back first, the last contract that I know of was prior to me being in office, which was 2014.
Yep.
So first thing I think we should definitely do is decide if we're going to start another contract, because if we're spending town money on something that's, you know, town property, we should have a contract that says we can keep it there. Personally. Number two, we bought nets for the tennis court part of it. We allowed the pickleball people to paint the lines on the county courts for their pickleball, and then they were going to, you know, supply, you know, their tools or whatever they need, you know, rackets and such for that. If we're going forth with repairing the one on Elm Lake Road, I would highly suggest we just rebuild that one that's in bad shape into a strictly pickleball court, because this seems to be a popular thing. If, you know, rather than trying to compete with tennis today and pickleball tomorrow on the same court, back and forth with multiple lines and all that. Just throwing these things out there because, you know, the first one is the contract. We should definitely get that started. And then, as far as, I agree, anybody wants to make donations, that's great, but we're talking major amounts of money here.
Mm-hmm.
Who is the contract with?
County.
County.
For the county one. There
Yeah.
there
The county
wouldn't need
one.
to be any one at the other end.
No, that's town land.
No.
That's,
Right.
that, we don't have to worry about that.
So the county tennis court, what kind of expense are we in at this point in time to make it, is it failing that rapidly? I mean, what's going on with the court? I mean,
No, the court was the court was repaved, I do believe, when Neil was in office.
Mhm.
The fences were redone.
okay,
It's
Frank
been
was in
painted.
office,
It will need in the next 5 years or so. It's going to be, I would say, repainted. We wash it every year now. So it's going to need repainting, but that alone was almost $30,000 the last time I spoke to somebody
for repainting.
for repainting. So that's, a fiasco in itself. So that's where I'm saying this $5,000 a year, maintaining 4 courts, 2 on each facility, that $5,000 a year on a reserve fund is not going to cut it in any time soon. We'll barely get, by the time it needs to be repainted, we'll barely have the money for repainting.
A lot of money.
So that's,
That
Granted, that
costs
was-
that much. Is it over the whole blacktop?
correct.
Oh, but
They strip it, they pull everything off of it, they seal it per se, then they paint it,
Good job.
and then and then they put all the lines on and everything like that.
I thought you were just talking lines.
No. Painting is painting the whole thing, because as Don knows, when we pressure wash it year after year after year, we're gonna have a black court here soon.
Right.
Right.
The water is
Not
green
green.
when you
Okay.
pressure wash it.
That's it.
Yeah, the water is definitely green when you pressure wash it. So, and it's not all sap.
Allows you,
so-
huh?
What is the board's pleasure? Is that what we want to do, is go ahead and I should be working with the county and get another contract going? Or what are you asking to be done? We need to move on what we're talking.
Well, I think it's a lot of money involved, so we should have at least an agreement with the county.
Right. Well,
That's a simple piece.
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
but we still
have
have
to-
to figure out who's gonna be responsible for it. I mean, it's
Well,
great
we
that
are.
the county can just say, we're not gonna have anything to do with it, you gotta remove it.
No,
That's not what
they'll
they
help
said.
you remove it. They're not even putting that on us. They'll help tear it out.
Right,
They're just saying that if the town decides to walk away from it, they're not going to run it.
Right.
Oh, I was under the impression that we were responsible for removing everything.
No.
My mistake.
they will help us.
Yeah, the fact is
I
they
really
just don't want to be in that business, and that wasn't the original handshake. So we are, again, I know we're not in business for the attaboys, but the town court and the village court are how both of them are referred to, and I guarantee you that at none of those meetings are they talking about those courts, because it's not their headache, it's
No.
ours.
Right. All right. So
Money. Plus money.
we need someone to make a motion that we are going to continue with the tennis courts, continue maintaining them, or if you feel you want to do away with them, you guys need to get that in motion form.
Well, I think we
Are
need
you
to
talking
separate.
to them or you're talking to county one?
The county
Yeah,
one.
which one?
This is the only one in question right now, is the
Okay,
county
okay.
one.
Well, I think we need to get a contract in place because we're gonna have it for at least till the end of this year. And then, we're gonna have to decide at budget time if we're gonna continue. Maybe put some kind of an article in the paper. I could write something up saying, that some people that use the court are gonna have to, make some donations or something. Or else we may have to let it go. I mean, if you want to do something like that, we could, write it up very nicely, but basically say, the town is considering letting those courts go. And if they do get a lot of use, so maybe we'd find people that were willing to throw some bucks our way.
Let me just ask this, not putting in motion form. Who would like to see the courts go and do away with the county court? Say aye. Just,
Well,
Well,
yeah, I don't want to see it go, but I just want to make sure that, I don't know how to put it, we're responsible for it,
Mhm.
but it's not our property.
No.
We need to have a contract. I don't want to see him go, but
Right.
I just want to see it get straightened out.
Okay, so, all right. So who
I
would
don't
like
want to
us?
see it, I don't want to see it go either, but I don't want to spend $30,000 every, how many years does it need repainting, Randy?
Well, I would say at least 15 years. I mean, it's
Well,
been
the last
it's-
time it was repainted was when I was on the
right. So say that was 2012. We got another 5 year. That's
about right.
About
I was
15
there
years.
from 10 through 16. It was probably 12.
yeah.
But
Well-
that,
In that case, I would say I am for keeping them.
I am too. I at the risk of repeating, I think we should make a contract or a lease agreement, something more than handshake. But be that as it may, actions are always more important, really, than even the paperwork. We have been maintaining, and we have been ensuring that double tennis court for decades. So there is no gray area here about who's supposed to take care of it. It's us.
Mhm.
So if we either have to commit to a reserve fund that apparently we've already started, and look towards fixing it a little, but one of the best ways to get that word out there, Chris, that you're talking about, is for the minutes to reflect a very lengthy discussion about the ongoing and ever increasing costs of owning and operating the town tennis courts on county property, such that it makes it in the paper, and then let those people realize that this is, it's a free service provided mostly, again, I'm just generalizing here, most of the people I saw there in my 6 concentrated years up there were Pasico people. And it was just one more of those drip, 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 drip. Then they come back and have Nancy tell me how we're paying for these people and that people and these kids and these old people on the bus. It was constant. Every time I ran into Rick Wilt, I had one more. Jesus, do you people pay for anything? It's like we should be claiming the people in Arietta as our dependents. So, it is what it is. But are we really going to patrol it and people who aren't in town look pleasant? Probably not. But we should at least get the word out.
Neil, that makes me think maybe we should be asking Arietta to throw a couple $1,000 a year our way.
I think if we just leak this out the way it ought to be in minutes and releases in the paper, then you bump into, the answer is going to be no, but you bump into Rick and you say, Rick, geez, maybe you ought to check and see if any of your folks are really into this, because I can see my board, and that's the way I would do it if I were you, Betsy. I could see my board going sour on this within a year or two. And, see who's going to step up here. I don't say the county's going to do it, but maybe some individual towns might. But here again, we're left holding the rather expensive sometimes bag on something. Maybe we'd be surprised. Maybe if those words got out there, we'd be surprised by how many town of Lake Pleasant folks do use it.
Okay.
Last time I
So-
used it was to be
let's-
tested for COVID. They were
Me
using-
too. And in all fairness, they called every time to get permission.
Good. There you
The
go.
health department. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and contact Laura Abrams, and we'll get that contract going. So I'll have it for the next meeting. In the meantime, I will definitely get a hold of Rick Wilt and kind of let him know what's going on and our thoughts down the road, how the maintenance is, expenses are getting to be a bit much, it would be kind of nicer if they could be maybe pitching a little bit to help us. And we'll go from there. So,
But that $5,000 that we budgeted, I believe was more, I mean, it was for tennis courts, but I believe we had thought of the village tennis
yes,
courts
that's.
with that 5,000.
That's what we wanted to do first.
Right, right. So here we're talking about that we have to paint that, and we don't really have any money set aside for painting.
But Randy said it would be 5 years
Right.
before we had to paint that.
Correct. So
Okay.
that we can discuss at budget time and
Right.
move on from there.
Okay.
The biggest thing I'm worried about is having a contract that says we're, going to continue doing this. And then from there, figure out what we're gonna do with the Elm Lake ones. If we ever do open that one that's closed, can we rebuild it to be in a pickleball situation strictly?
I think your idea there, Randy, is great. There's no real demand for a second tennis court there in the village setting as much as there is for pickleball. So why not?
I've got to throw in one more wrench into the engine. It seems like the only one that's regulation size is the one that's closed now.
Mhm.
One that's open is small for regulation size, but it would be appropriate for pickleball.
Right.
So we kind of got to switch them around, pickleball on the small side and tennis on the regulation side.
Correct. We can do that when we get farther into the planning of rebuilding it.
Because that court was in pretty bad shape last year, Randy, with the cracks and stuff that people could trip
Correct.
was our concern. That's why we closed it.
Right.
Okay. Okay. All right. So is there anybody want to add anything else into that, or have we beat this dead horse? Are we all set? Okay. All right. So next, is, well, we had a resolution for the annual audit for the town justices. Debbie, we're going to table that to the next meeting. It's been a kind of a hectic, week for Debbie last week and this week. So I'm going to move on to town assessor discussion. This is something, that I think only I had mentioned to Neil just briefly. Dan Fife will be moving to Texas. I thought it would be in the fall, but if his home sells before, he might leave sooner. Right now, Lake Pleasant and Indian Lake contract with we contract with for the assessor. I had a meeting with Barry Baker and Brian Wells last week. Brian is the supervisor in Indian Lake. Originally, this was set up in hopes that other towns would contract with the county for assessor, and it would save the towns more money as more towns came on into the program. This was also that the towns didn't have to hire individually. It would save a lot of money. The more towns that would contract, of course, it would naturally be lower. After discussing the options, the county will no longer be contracting with us. Barry doesn't see for the next 2 to 3 years that any other towns would be jumping on board, which is a big disappointment to everyone involved here. Brian had checked with Chase and Associates to see if they knew of any part-time assessors that would be interested. Chase said that no one does that any longer and no companies provide that service any longer. So Barry has 2 fairly local prospects he is going to contact as a favor to us, that we could hire on a yearly basis for Lake Pleasant, which would basically be like 3 days a week. And the cost would be anywhere from $15,000 to $20,000 a year. Of course, like I said, it would be part-time, and both of these prospects are retired, so we would not be paying benefits, health insurance or any kind of benefits, which right now, currently, we are paying all those benefits.
What are we currently paying to the county for Fife services?
Okay. For 21, we budgeted 33,000. We had budgeted 31,871 in 20.
Okay.
And
Why are we paying his benefits if we're, contracted with the county for this?
The county pays the benefits, but we pay a percentage of everything. We as Pleasant, it works out that we pay 40%. No? Am I wrong? Oh, and Indian Lake is paying 60%. And I actually have his contract here, and I actually highlighted the benefits. Let's see. The benefits include the salary, of course, medical coverage, pension, disability, unemployment insurance, life insurance, training materials, training conferences and seminars, mileage at state rate, telephone, photocopy, fax, and postage. That's all county expense, but we pay the percentage of that. So there's a lot of things that we're paying that we won't have to if we could get someone that is retired, that we wouldn't have to commit to that, and it could just be part-time.
this is a big kick in the gut in the
Yes.
sense that we kind of thought over these last few years that we had transitioned into something that was equally as good as what we've just recently done with the county
Yes.
on bookkeeping,
Yep.
but maybe more so, particularly for the 2 decades, it seems, of fighting lawsuits and so on, having a local person doing local assessments and then having them beat up with personal lawsuits. I really thought that this was one of the great county services that had come along, and apparently not.
No, I think it's a big disappointment to all of us, honestly.
Yeah.
I understood that Dan, when he talked to me, and it was a while ago, I didn't want to bring it to the board till I had my facts.
Right.
But he said that he would be here till the fall so he could help train someone. But then he was talking to Brian Wells about a week ago, and he mentioned that he could be leaving by summer. So the way I'm looking at this is I feel, and I hope I'm speaking right for the board, we have to look out for the town and what's best for the town. If we can find someone that would be part-time, I understand that Dan is depending on his benefits until the fall, but we can't take that chance that last minute he decides to, leave earlier, and here we are with nobody. So I did take it upon myself to ask Barry if he could get that information back to us, and then I'll bring it to the board.
So Betsy, currently Dan is more or less 40% of his time is spent on Lake Pleasant and 60 on Indian. Is that what you said?
Well, that's the way, no, you're talking time. He's supposed to be 2 days a week in Lake Pleasant and 2 days a week in Indian Lake.
Okay.
What I was saying there was that was the salary.
Yeah, no, I just mean that those were his 2 focal points.
Right.
And again, that it just happened to be that we had a long-time assessor retiring, and then Meade Hutchins was retiring on Brian Wells, and it just seemed, boy, this is a perfect time for the county to step in. Maybe one of the Hail Marys here looking might be for someone who would do both, and pay them half and half, particularly if you can find a retiree.
Well, Barry has told Dan to make sure that he updates for both towns all the properties, takes all the photos, and gets all the information up to date ASAP in case his house sells, and this happens quicker than we hope.
This is a very tenuous
least-
situation.
At least we're ready for the next person when they come in. Things are where they need to be. I'm hoping really that we can get, Dan will still be here to, get the new person on board before he leaves, but I'll have more for the next meeting on that.
Neil, weren't our last 2 assessors full-time positions?
Sure. Ed Winchell and Vicky.
Right, but
But
they
that-
were half and half. They were code and assessor.
Right.
Right.
Oh, okay.
One of the
They did
really
both
brilliant
jobs.
things that was done by previous boards was marrying those 2 so that only one person would have to be hated instead of 2. You're the building inspector, so you naturally have to be let in to be shown a new bathroom or a finished basement. And then because you're also the assessor, upgrade the assessment card on that house, which, they can't really argue because you've already been in to inspect it. That was brilliant back in Frank's day. That was, I was surprised people would take the jobs because those are pretty tough jobs for public perspective, the way they see them. And then naturally, the last 8 years of Vicky, the personal suits and so on, it was just, it wears you down. So having someone who didn't live in town, who had at least arm's length divorced from this stuff, and I really did think it was going to be something that could be a marriage made in heaven. Apparently not. I am also surprised that other towns did not get on board with this stuff, because there's so much training. That's why I'm thinking about sharing or whatever. There's just so much training. If we get a retiree who's coming off of being one, well, that's one thing if they've been assessing somewhere else in New York. But if you get someone who's, just a building inspector or just some other discipline, there's a lot of stuff to learn, and you end up having to pay for that too. For all the schooling and the sending.
Well, these
And you hope Oh, sorry, Bets.
No, as I say, these guys already are assessors. They just retired and want to go back to work part-time. So they're still certified.
And
know
you
that-
hope that they'll stick around for a while too.
Sure.
Once,
Yeah, I mean, I know Barry will do the best he can for us, but I thought, when I first heard this over the transom, I thought Barry was going to be doing the best for the county to find someone new, not helping us find someone new, and we're back in that same lifeboat.
Yep. So that's what we have for there. Okay, next thing is committee reports. Do any of the committees have anything they want to report? Anybody? No? Don?
No,
Oh, I was to say, did we lose Don again? Okay.
no, I'm here.
Okay. So next then I'm looking for a motion to pay the bills, and there was two abstracts, one from
Yes.
February 22nd and one the 26th. Someone want to make
I
a
moved them
motion?
both.
Okay, Neil first,
So moved.
okay.
and
Nancy, discussion? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, so our next meeting will be Monday, March 15th. And next we'll now open up for public comment. Do we have anybody for public comment this evening? Okay. Okay, hearing none. Next we'll go to roundtable. We'll start with you, Nancy. Nothing? Randy? No? Randy?
Randy's muted.
No,
Okay. You could have mouthed the words.
Leaving,
No.
Don.
no.
Your head.
I was waiting for him to chew all the stuff that he had in his mouth before he could answer.
Probably why he wasn't. Okay, Chris?
The only thing I have that somebody brought to my attention is, once again, a snowmobiler.
Uh-oh.
Where I was talking to, well, basically every snowmobiler from out of town that I ran across lately about the tree farm problem and the logging.
Mm-hmm.
And I had 3 of them tell me that the signs are too small. That they'd blown by those signs and didn't even see them.
Really?
I don't know how true that is.
I will take you a picture of them.
They're that small, huh?
No, they are on 16-foot boards. Are on they are barricades, and the signs are probably 2 foot by 2 foot with 6-inch letters.
Randy, don't you already have those photos? Because you had to present them in court a couple times when.
Yes.
Yeah.
But I can go down and take these exact pictures, and what it looks. You can't miss this in a million years. Going as fast as you want to go, you're not going to miss these barricades. They are plastered through this area.
Weren't they going around them?
They're going right around them,
Yeah.
over them, beside them. There's so many signs that we ran out of.
I haven't heard those
Well,
same
unless somebody
complaints.
threw barricades into the woods, then there's no excuse for saying you can't.
I will go tomorrow and take some pictures and send them to you.
Saying
Because I was asked by DEC
my
and such
connection
to
got.
I was asked by DEC to make sure it was obvious so that they could write tickets. And as Debbie was saying, I have made other situations so obvious that it's, criminal to say that it's not obvious. But I will go tomorrow and send you some pictures, Chris. There's no way that people are driving by these signs and not seeing them.
Chris, if I could just throw in here, no one's complained to me about that same issue this time, but I've heard that issue brought up before, and I always retort with the same thing. If you blew by them and didn't see them, are you stopping me to tell me how nice the trails are? Because the fact that they can be blowing along at 40 on the tree farm trails, that's a compliment to the fact that the riding is very good. And as far as the size of them, you have to notice when you're going around a barrier, there's a reason you might be looking for why there's a barrier.
Correct.
And again, I love riders, but you can't support bandit riding because it ends up junking the real riding, right? Folks to start
Correct.
jumping us.
And it's going to end up in this situation as a death, because
Well, that's true. Sure.
these log trucks are not going to be able to stop. And that's why I was so adamant when I sat Eddie and Andy down there to plaster the woods with these signs.
Yeah.
And what they're doing is they're riding the shortcut, which is Cave Hill, up over the hill, and it's a plowed road, so of course it's absolutely smooth. It's not right. It's this, that, but to say that the signs are too small, no. Mm-mm.
Just as an antidote to that, with my experiences on the ambulance corps and as coroner, people mentioned to me that we need to mark the edges of the lake better so they can see them. So people see what they want to see.
Yeah.
That's a good point.
Chris, do you have anything else?
No, it was the only thing somebody brought up to me.
Okay. Okay. Neil, did you have anything else?
Just that Chris mentioned before, I was not certain, I was on Councilwoman Sipes, but I was not on Chris mentioning that she would not be around for the culmination of the savings up. I'm saddened by that for both of you. You're very good council members. And I hope that both of you are maybe would help us to recruit folks to throw their hats in. Because we need interested, engaged people like both of you.
I've been trying to find somebody younger.
That's what we need is youth.
Well,
That's what you
engaged
need.
and young is a tough combo, Chris, but you both are very good council people, and we should be putting our collective heads together.
Don, do you have anything?
Nothing.
Okay. Deb?
I just want to ask the board, are we going to be reimbursing the senior citizens for their Medicare Part B chargeback like we've done in the past? I have vouchers ready to go if that's going to be allowed this year. It's the $96 Medicare Part B chargeback that we've been doing since at least 8 years. That's a $96 chargeback. It's for all the retirees.
It probably would be very scary to stop it. I would think.
Budgeted. It's
Yeah.
Yeah.
it's there.
Okay.
I move that we pay it.
Okay.
Second.
Got it. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
Okay. Aye. Chris, was that an aye for opposed?
I'm for it.
You're for it. Okay. I'm sorry. I didn't get that. Okay. Okay. So moving along, I do have, and I know you guys all saw this, but I don't know if anybody else is here. I don't know if you can really see this. Probably not, huh? Our ward.
Oh,
Maybe.
I saw it on the table.
Yeah.
Yeah, perma.
You really can't see it, right? That's too bad because it really is nice. But anyway, I'll read it. It's PERMA presents the town of Lake Pleasant with this award to extend our gratitude for 20 years of continuous loyal support of the PERMA Workers' Compensation Program, which would have been given to Debbie if PERMA's annual member conference was not canceled on May 21st. So unfortunately, due to COVID, it was canceled. So they sent this to us. And so this will be in Town Hall for everybody to check out when they come into Town Hall.
There's the one that I picked up back, I think it was for 15 years, or maybe it was 10 years. I think that's up on the judge's stand up there.
Well,
Yeah.
we'll put this right along there somewhere like that. Okay. Just wondering also, did everybody get a chance to read the Adirondack Almanac, the great article on the Halloween storm of 2019? There's quotes in there from Don Purdy, Tracy Eldridge, and Randy. They were interviewed, and it's a really great article. If you've not checked it out, you might want to go online and check it out. Very interesting. Good job, Randy. Okay, does anybody have anything else?
Yeah, I do.
Okay, then
Sorry.
go ahead. That's okay, go ahead.
I'd like to start meeting back in person as soon as we can. Because Frontier, I don't know about Nancy and you, but at my house, I've got fiber optic. Like I said, I was on the phone for an hour with them today, trying to get everything straightened out, and the meeting dropped, and I had to get out. So I
Yeah.
didn't hear a lot of the discussion.
Oh,
So
that's,
I would like to get
And,
moving.
you know,
That
Don,
makes me
it's happened to me recently, it's happened to Chris recently, it's happened to Nancy. It's difficult with the connectivity that we live with here.
Right. Well, we-
yeah, Don, we had agreed at the March meeting, the next March meeting, by the end of March, then we would have to actually put motion form, go back to public meetings again. So that would be on the agenda for next meeting.
Okay.
Is that good for
You want
everybody?
to do it now? We could have a motion and a vote now.
I mean, I guess.
I'm with Don.
I mean, as long as public meetings are, well, if public meetings aren't, if we're not allowed to open to the public, we'll just have to keep the door locked and have just the board members in there. We can do that.
Well, I mean, that's something. We've had those meetings in there where the public had to join us by Zoom.
Yeah.
It's certainly not something that I'm looking forward to having real meetings, but I do think we should be meeting in person again as soon as we're allowed.
Okay.
That's now.
If Nancy, have you heard? Is it yet? I think it.
I haven't heard any updates on it, but, I think the governor's a bit busy.
You think?
Sounds like he has been busy in the
Good
past.
for you,
We
Nancy.
ought to start doing what we want it to do, and the hell with the state.
Okay, so let's do this. At this time, I'm just gonna leave it. And as long as the governor does not extend the open meeting law again, our next meeting will be at the library, but we'll have plenty of time to know that, because if he's gonna extend it, he'll have to extend it in the next, I would have to think, 3 days.
I think he usually does it around the 3rd of the month, 2nd or
Yeah.
3rd, so.
So it should be pretty quick. So we'll know. So, okay.
We could
If
invite
nothing
him
else,
too.
I'm looking, huh?
We could invite him.
Oh,
He's too old, Neil. He's too old.
okay, I'm looking for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Okay, second.
I'll second.
Good
Second,
night,
Nancy.
everybody.
Good night, folks.
Bye.
Good night.
Good job.
Bye-bye.